Hey everyone, welcome back to Solo Party. My name is Kane, and it is a girls' night out in Eureka Springs. Ruffians from neighboring towns are causing a ruckus, and Granny Melba has recruited some outside help from those towns to protect Eureka Springs. Meanwhile, the town has been cursed by the peddler's arch-rival Barnaby, who supplies the ruffians, and the peddler has lost all of her gear to gambling. Since she supplies our town in our battle against the ruffians, we agree to help scavenge for more gear on our journeys, and Granny Melba may have an ulterior motive. Today, I'm bringing you some gameplay of Townsfolk Tussle with the new Foul Neighbors and Odd Jobs expansions. I'm trying to show off as much of the new content as I can, so we will be playing the solo mode using both expansions. In the solo mode, you play as 3 townsfolk, so we have both of the new characters, Judy Marks and Frigid Jones, accompanied by Granny Melba from the base game. In solo mode, you also play with no Secret Town event cards, so you can remove those from the event deck before playing, but I'll just leave them in and redraw as necessary. You start the game with 30 coins and share them between all townsfolk. You also play with a shared pool of 6 feats of metal. The townsfolk that completed the feat first will receive it, as well as any applicable stats chosen as a reward. And lastly, in the town phase, you can trade non-starting gear freely among the townsfolk. I have randomly drawn 4 ruffians from the Foul Neighbors expansion and selected a single curse to increase the difficulty for this playthrough. In Foul Neighbors, you unlock more curses by defeating ruffians for a 3rd time and collecting their trophies, but this one is unlocked from the beginning. A small complaint I have is that the curses are ranked in difficulty from 1 to 3 stars, and you can see that this curse is a 3-star ranking, so relatively difficult, and I wish that they had started off with a 1-star curse being unlocked to feel like I'm unlocking more and more difficult variations as I progress through the game, and not making me start off with one that already feels fairly punishing. Since we are using the Odd Jobs expansion as well, we will include the peddler's gear from the expansion instead of the base game gear. This represents the peddler having gambled away all of her precious gear and the need arising for us to go out and help her restock, so we have a starting deck of 30. But even though we've been left with the worst of the worst, everyone knows you can just dress for success. Once you have purchased a 3rd gear from a matching set, you then gain that role card, and all of them give you different abilities that are going to synergize with that gear. Then the last thing we have to do before beginning is checking the peddler's journal to review the preparations needed for our current expedition. For your first game with the expansion, you will of course be on your first expedition. You can pause the video here if you'd like to read some of the lore, but what we are looking for are these listed preparations. These are goals we will be striving to meet and checking off at the end of the game, and once we have completed all preparations for an individual expedition, there will be a journal entry to read, as well as a journal entry to read once we've completed all expeditions in a set. So, now that we have everything set up, let's begin with some town events. You resolve town events in buy-in order, so we'll start with Granny Melba. Treasure Hunt. You see Old Man Gooby digging for his family's long-lost treasure. You should help him out. Roll plus your max HP, and Granny Melba has 4, so we'll be adding plus 4. And an 8 plus 4 is 12, so we got... You dig for hours but find nothing. Gooby decides it's time to abandon the hunt and gives you his trusty shovel. You receive Gooby's shovel unique gear. And so this is a melee 2-handed sword. It costs 2 mox to use. We need to roll a 6 or higher on accuracy to hit, and it will deal 2 damage and gives us plus 1 max HP. Now, Granny Melba doesn't really use 2-handed weapons, so we'll probably give that over to Judy Marks or Frigid Jones. And now for Frigid Jones' event, the Old Cemetery. The party decides to check if any ruffians have gone grave robbing, and we do have Granny Melba in the group, so we'll get this bottom option. You catch some grave robbers unearthing dear Pappy Melba. Granny Melba chases them off before returning to her late husband's grave. She returns him to his resting place, but grabs something for herself first. Pappy would understand. Granny Melba receives Pappy's Dentures unique gear. And Pappy's Dentures is headgear, and if a ruffian ends in action adjacent to you, they take 1 damage. And lastly, Judy Marks' event, Bribed Betrayal. You come across a gaggle of ruffians looting the town pharmacy. Hey pal, one of them says, how about you look the other way? We'll share some of our haul. Are you willing to let these scoundrels ransack Eureka Springs for a little wealth? We can choose one to accept the bribe to get 4 coins, and the next ruffian you encounter is enhanced by the stolen goods and has plus 2 movement. Honestly, not too bad of a consequence, but I don't think we need 4 coins right now. We have not spent any. It's the start of the game. We've got 30 amongst us, so we're going to decline the bribe, and you scream for your teammates and the ruffians scatter, not in your town. And now let's take a quick look at our feats of metal. We have 2 that are going to be relevant during the shop phase. We have Bard in the town phase with an instrument equipped, and Fight Fixated. purchase no gear from the peddler during the town phase. First up in buy-in order is Granny Melba, but we will not purchase anything with her because we want her to get the fight fixated feat of metal for that bonus to accuracy for this next fight. And you can see that we already have several pieces of gear with the cook roll tag, and it's Frigid Jones' turn in buy-in order, so we're going to try to get some of those with her, especially because you can see on the suspicious morsels, this is going to help you gain HP, and our curse is preventing us from healing as much as we would in a normal fight. So that will cost us 4 of our gold, and we're down to 26. And now for Judy Mark's turn, we'll purchase this ankle jangler, which is leg gear, instrument key. It's going to give us +1 accuracy and the 1 Mox ability, move the Ruffian or another townsfolk up to 2 squares towards you. So this is going to fulfill that bard feats of metal for us as well for Judy. And we are down to 20 gold. We will continue to pass with Granny Melba and then go back to Frigid. And Frigid's going to keep trying to go for that cook roll and buy the aged eggs, which are an accessory consumable. They can also be used for the farmer roll. And when you consume them, you add +3 to your terrain roll this turn, and that is usable once per fight. And now we'll go ahead and pass with Judy, and we're passing with Granny Melba still for that feat of metal. And we'll go back to Frigid Jones. There's one more piece of cook gear we can get to go ahead and get our roll, and I think we want to do that. So we'll spend 7 of our last 16, going down to 9 to get the stained apron, which is a chest gear. It's going to give us +1 Mox, and when we consume it, we gain the consume effect of any other consumable that we own once per fight. It's important to note that you don't have to equip all of the gear to receive the roll, you just have to own them. So when we gain the cook roll, it says meal prep. Immediately gain the modular meal unique gear and discard modular meal if you change roles. Whenever you consume, choose another townsfolk, and at the start of their turn, they consume this item as well. So we're really getting a lot more mileage out of our consumables. And the modular meal gear says consume, choose 1, restore 1 HP, or gain +1 Mox for the fight, usable once per fight. We are now at the end of the town phase, and because Granny Melba did not purchase any gear from the peddler, she's going to gain the fight fixated feat of metal. So we could either gain +4 coins or +2 accuracy for the fight, and I think we are going to take the accuracy for Granny Melba. And Judy Marks has ended the town phase with an instrument equipped, so she's going to get the bard feat of metal. We could either get +3 coin or +1 Mox for the fight, and I think we're going to go ahead and take the +1 Mox. That's going to allow us to attack, use our gift of art, and maybe interact with the terrain all in the same turn if we need to. Now we're ready to move on to the fight phase and reveal our first ruffian, which is Ernie Awful. Ernie Awful, the meaty vendor. With the town's farmers and fishermen fending off ruffians, Eureka Springs was in desperate need of food. That's where Ernie Awful stepped up to the plate. Hailing from Misty Bluff, the jovial food vendor selflessly offered to relocate his meat truck to our town, providing grub to the hungry masses. His meat tasted great, and it seemed like the perfect solution for the food shortage, until the townsfolk discovered the main ingredient in Ernie's dishes. They say you don't want to know how the sausage is made, but when some fingers were found in the stew, the answer was pretty obvious. We can't let this brutal butcher make meals out of the locals. It's time to sear some sense into this shady chef. So you can see for 3 players, he's going to have 5 movement, 18 health. His ambush ability lets him start with the prepare the main course action card in play, and we're at the chump level, so he's just a spineless chef. Nothing special about this cowardly cook, should be a cinch. Now we'll take a look at the ambush card, which tells us what different actions on Ernie Awful might do. So dunk, all townsfolk within 2 squares of Ernie are placed in a boiling pot square. Force feed, all townsfolk within 2 squares of Ernie are force fed a stick of butter and gain +2 Mox for the fight. Then, if that townsfolk has 10 Mox, they take 1 damage, or Sharpen Cleaver, we place a counter on this card. Ernie's first action card is Prepare the Cutlery. Gotta slice that meat as soon as it's done cooking. I best keep my cutting edge sharp. We target the townsfolk with the lowest Mox, so this could either be Granny Melba or Frigid Jones, and then we move Ernie towards the target, Force Feed, and Sharpen Cleaver. We will choose Frigid as our target and go ahead and move Ernie 1 space towards her. And now both Judy Marks and Frigid Jones are force fed since Judy is within that 2 spaces, and they will both gain 2 Mox, Frigid going to 4 and Judy going to 6. We will then place 1 counter on the ambush card. We're going to start by spending 2 Mox with Judy to make an attack with Gooby's Shovel. We have 1 accuracy, so we need a 5 or higher to hit. And a 6 will hit for 2 damage to Ernie, taking him down to 16. Well, we needed to be adjacent to do that, but we do have 4 movement, so we were just going to go around on the other side of Frigid. Next, we will spend 1 Mox to give out a painting to Frigid, our happy place here. After receiving this, gain 3 movement and 2 Mox on your next turn. And so the idea behind this is I want to be able to get Frigid over to that old jalopy so we can activate it and then try to get it to run over Ernie for 3 points of damage. And last for Judy, we'll go ahead and spend one more mox to activate our ankle jangler. We can move the Ruffian or another townsfolk up to 2 squares towards you. And we're going to choose Granny Melba, and we're just going to move her 1 space over here to give, just to free up some of her movement on her turn. And if I was paying attention, I would have done this first because we also have the Technician Feat of Metal. Activate a non-consumable gear ability to give us either 2 gold or +1 accuracy for the fight. So that +1 accuracy would have helped with that attack earlier, but thankfully we did hit, so it didn't matter then. And that will end Judy's turn, so we'll go to Frigid. The first thing we'll do with Frigid is we're going to activate our Hide Inside ability for 1 mox. This lets us hide a townsfolk inside of us. We remove an adjacent townsfolk from the board, and hiding townsfolk are placed adjacent to you at the start of their turn. So we'll take Judy Marks and hide her inside of us. Then we're going to activate our Swinging Door melee weapon. Costs 1 mox, and this weapon deals +1 damage if we activated Hide Inside this turn, which we did. We have -1 to our accuracy, so we hit on a 6 or higher and we'll deal 2 damage. And a 7 is enough to hit, so that'll deal 2 damage, taking Ernie down to 14. And now we have a total of 8 movement on this turn, thanks to Judy giving us the Happy Place painting. So we're going to move towards the jalopy. And that costs us 7 movement to get adjacent. And now, because we really want to get this attack off, we're going to go ahead and consume our aged eggs. So it's going to add +3 to our next terrain roll this turn. And because of our cook roll, we're going to go ahead and give that effect to Granny Melba as well at the start of her turn. So with a +3 to this roll, we can only miss on a 1. And a 2 still hits. So we now get to move the old jalopy forward until it collides with a terrain piece or a board edge, and all characters in the path are going to take 3 damage, and then we remove old jalopy from the board. And that hit will take Ernie down to 11, which passes his first breaking point. So that is immediately going to end Frigid's turn and let him draw a card. And his next action is Pick Veggies. These here carrots will contrast nicely with your cooked bits. Y'all keep eating now. We target the vegetable patch, then force feed, but there is no one within range 2. Then move Ernie towards the target, attempting to end movement completely inside of it. Force feed again, still nobody around the vegetable patch, so we're good there. And then all these mandatory meals have some of the townsfolk doubling over in pain. All townsfolk with 5 or more mox take 1 damage. And so currently Judy is the only one with 5 or more mox, so Judy will take 1 damage. But since Judy is actually removed from the board right now, she can't take damage, so she gets to bypass that. And now it's on to Granny Melba. Granny Melba has 4 movement, which is going to be just enough to get in range to make an attack with the Rudy Tutor. Because of Granny Melba's farsighted ability, we add X to Granny's accuracy rolls when attacking, where X equals the number of spaces between her and her target. So we have 4 spaces between us. We attack at range 5. We're at a 0 base accuracy right now, so we're going to add 4 to this roll. We only need to roll a 2 or higher to hit with the Rudy Tutor. And a 7 will hit, so that's going to be another 2 damage to Ernie, taking him down to 9. And I like to use just a little counter to remind myself of when I can and cannot use an item, because the Rudy Tutor cannot be activated the turn after it was activated. And now we're out of movement, but we still have 3 mox available to us, and because of the aged eggs and the cook roll on Frigid Jones, Granny Melba gets a +3 to her first terrain roll for this turn. And so we're going to try to jump over this wooden fence, and we only need a 2 or higher. And a 2 will get us there. And that will be the end of Granny Melba's turn. On to Ernie again. And now Ernie's next action is Flavor the Stew. Ernie chucks townsfolk out of his way while collecting corn for his recipe. We're going to target the overgrown cornfield. And then he's going to dunk. Then move Ernie towards the target. Luckily, no one is within 2 spaces to dunk. Then we move Ernie towards the target, attempting to end completely inside of it, but he's pretty far away, so he's not going to be able to do that. Then we'll sharpen the cleaver again. And if there are 4 more townsfolk on the board, which there are not, so we can ignore that. One more counter for sharpen cleaver. And it will go to Judy. So at the start of Judy's turn, she is going to be placed adjacent to Frigid. For Judy's turn, we want to start by moving her 2 spaces forward towards the fence. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get adjacent to Ernie without breaking the fence. So we are going to try to destroy it. We just need to roll a 4 or higher. And a 7 will be able to get rid of it. We will then use a 3rd point of movement to move adjacent to Granny Melba. And we'll use another one of our 6 mocks. So we still have 4 mocks because we used 1 for the wooden fence to give Granny Melba the hero's journey. So after receiving this, you may immediately move up to 4 squares. And if you end the movement adjacent to the ruffian, they take 1 damage. So Granny Melba will do just that. And end right in front of Ernie, which will deal 1 damage, taking him down to 8. Then Judy will use her last point of movement to get adjacent to Ernie and making another attack with Gooby's shovel. And so I wasn't giving us as much accuracy as we actually have. We have +3 accuracy right now from our feats as well as our ankle jingler. So we just need to roll a 3 or higher to deal 2 damage. And a 6 will do it. And that is going to take Ernie down to 6 health. And that crosses the breaking point at 7. So Judy's turn is going to end and Ernie will take an action. And Ernie got Bald Folk. Hot dog, y'all are really filling out. Give me some space though, will ya? We target all townsfolk within 3 squares, so everybody but Frigid, and then we force feed. Ernie rolls the engorged targets away like a ball. Move each target X squares farther from Ernie, where X is equal to that target's mocks. Then move Ernie towards the farthest townsfolk and force feed again. Okay, so first we're going to force feed Judy and Granny Melba. So Granny Melba will go up to 6 mocks and Judy will go up to 8. And so now pushing Judy 8 away is going to push her all the way to the board edge. And Granny Melba going 6 will also go to the southern board edge. Judy marks is the farthest away, so Ernie's going to move 5 towards her. And we'll just have Frigid move out of the way in this direction, I believe. And force feeding again is going to put Judy up to 10, meaning she will take 1 damage now after the force feed, going to 3 health. And Frigid Jones will go up to 6 mocks. And after that, it is back to Frigid's turn. Well, I guess if I was going to do this anyways, let's just say I left Frigid right there because I want to move this way in order to hide Judy marks again. So I'm going to spend 1 mocks to hide Judy. And then I'll spend another mox to go ahead and activate that swinging door again. It gets +1 damage because I activated hide inside this turn. And I need to roll a 6 or higher. And a 5 isn't going to do it. So I will spend 2 mox to try for a reroll. And there we go. We got the 6 we needed. If I push it forward a little bit so you can see it. And that will actually take Ernie to his next and final breaking point at 4 health. So that is going to end Frigid's turn, and Ernie will get another action. And this time he has boiled meat. I'll know you're done cooking when your bones float to the top of the pot. We target the townsfolk with the lowest mocks. And so that is again a tie for Granny Melba and for Frigid Jones. And then Ernie hobbles towards you while spewing out inhumane cooking techniques. Move Ernie towards the target, dunk, then sharpen cleaver. And I forgot this earlier, but when there is a tie for targeting, you actually roll to determine the lowest. So we'll start with Frigid. And so that's a 2. And Granny Melba. That's a 9. So Frigid will be our target. So we're already adjacent to Frigid, so we don't have to move any, but we will go ahead and dunk. So Frigid will be placed into the boiling pot. And we will place 1 more counter on Sharpen Cleaver. And that will be it for Ernie's breaking point action, so we will continue to Granny Melba. And we are too far away to get close enough to make an attack with Granny's Cane with Granny Melba, so we're just going to move forward we're going to move forward 4, and then it goes back to Ernie. Forgot to show this earlier when I hit him with the jalopy, but we did also get the trap layer where if the ruffian takes damage from a terrain piece, the jalopy, we achieve this feat. So Frigid Jones got that, and obviously we didn't want the mocks after we saw the mechanics for this fight, so we gained the 2 gold. And for Ernie's next card, we've drawn Burst at the Seams. Did your trousers always fit this tightly? We target all townsfolk with 10 mocks. And so Judy is the only one with 10 mocks, but she is out of play. So move Ernie towards the meat truck, then dunk. The targets have reached their bursting point. Their insides are stretched beyond belief by all these forced feedings, deal 2 damage to all targets. But while Judy is removed from the board, she cannot take damage. So we're just going to move Ernie towards the meat truck. And now we can continue with Judy's turn. So at the start, we will drop her off outside of the boiling pot for sure. Then we'll go ahead and spend 1 mox to activate our ankle janglings again to move the Ruffian 2 spaces closer towards us. That way, he is in range for us to move to make a melee attack. So using Gooby's shovel, we only need a 3 or higher to hit for 2 damage. Okay, and a 2 is not going to do it, but we will go ahead and spend 2 mocks for a reroll because we are at 10, so we've got plenty to use. And there we go, a 3 is what we needed, so we deal 2 damage, taking him down to 2. So Frigid Jones started her turn in the boiling pot, so we see if a townsfolk begins their turn in the boiling pot, we place a water token on every empty square they enter that turn. And then if we ever end our turn in the boiling pot or on a water token, that townsfolk's going to take 1 damage. And Frigid has a movement of 5, so we're going to move up here, which means we're going to be placing 4 water tokens. Then I think we are going to go ahead and try to end this, so let's spend 1 mox to hide Judy. We'll go ahead and spend 1 more mox with our ice pack, which allows us to heal a townsfolk hiding inside of us for 1 HP. So Judy will go back to full health, and then we will spend another mox to activate our swinging door. And we are dealing 2 damage because we hit Judy this turn. So if we hit, this will be it for Ernie. We need to roll a 6 or higher. A 4 is not going to do it, so we do have enough mocks for a reroll. And a 5 is still short, so not going to get the kill with Frigid, but now it's on to Granny Melba. Granny only needs to move 1 space over to be in range. We're at a base 0 accuracy. We get +4 from the Rudy Tutor, so we just need to roll a 2 or higher. And with a critical hit, we finish off Ernie Awful. We will grab Ernie's Ruffian gear and shuffle it up. And we received Spicers. This is a ranged 2-handed thrown weapon. It's 1 mox to activate, 6 plus accuracy and 1 damage. Has range 3. This weapon may attack twice per turn, and if you successfully hit with this weapon twice in 1 turn, you gain +1 mox for the fight. And so Granny Melba at the end also completed the Shameless feat of metal, complete a fight without chest and leg gear equipped the entire time. And so we get a +4 from that. And then that will also tie her with Judy Marks for the most feats of metal. So we will have another roll off to see who gets these Spicers. So first Judy got a 6, and Granny rolled a 9. So that's who we wanted to get, and we could have freely exchanged anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much. But Granny rolled and won fair and square. And I got a little excited and ahead of myself because we rolled that crit for the finish. But if we roll a 9 or higher on a crit, we're also going to gain extra gear. So let's go ahead and just see if we could have gotten that. And an 8. Okay, so we didn't get the extra gear and everything else is good. So we can discard any unaccomplished feats if we would like, but I will keep the one we have up there. I think it's something we'll be able to do in a future fight. Then each townsfolk receives 6 coins, so we get 18 total for our pool. We've already assigned the Ruffian gear. We're going to return our stats back to normal. Then we will rotate the beaten by in order. So now it's Frigid, Granny, then Judy. And we can go back to the town phase. Our first town event for Judy is Dying Gift. You find a townsfolk sliced in half. With his last bit of strength, he hands you a piece of paper and whispers, "Please utilize this fantastic deal." You receive a buy one get one coupon. Keep this card in front of you. The next time you purchase an item from the peddler shop, you may take an additional item of equal or lesser value for free, then discard this card. So this could be really good for helping us get multiple pieces of gear for a roll we want. And Granny Melba's event is Shaky Hands. All the commotion around Eureka Springs is really getting to you. Looks like you're developing a case of the jitters. Keep this card in front of you for the next fight. Lower your terrain rolls by 1, okay? And lastly, for Frigid, we have Town Bard. A small man with a ukulele approaches you. For 3 coins, he offers to spread word of your valiant deeds around the town. If you pay, keep this card in front of you. It counts as a 1 point feat of metal. And I don't think we're going to do this. We have a shared pool of coins, and if we cared more about who we were selecting for our sheriff at the final fight, if we make it that far, then maybe we'd want to spin for this, but I don't think we want to right now. We'd rather use those towards the peddler. With Judy up first at the peddler's shop, we are going to spend 7 in order to buy the cracked glasses and use our buy one get one to also acquire the jaunty jig. The cracked glasses are headgear. It says end your turn, put a counter on this, and if there are 2 counters on this, it gains +2 accuracy. And the jaunty jig is a melee one-handed instrument, gives you +1 mox, and you can spend 2 mox to swap positions with another townsfolk on the board. Then, if both you and the townsfolk are adjacent to the ruffian, we deal 1 damage to the ruffian. Now Granny Melba will spend 4 for the old beater. This is leg gear, and when you end your turn, put a counter on this. If it has 2 counters on it, then you gain +2 movement. It also has discard a repair gear while in town to read a journal entry. And now on Frigid's turn, let's go ahead and lean even harder into that cook roll, and we will grab the wooden spoon. It is a melee one-handed dagger with the dig keyword. Costs 1 mox. On a 4+ accuracy to hit, you will deal 1 damage. And if you consume this turn, attacks with this weapon deal +1 damage. And we have a lot of consumables, and that's kind of the whole cook's synergy, so we will definitely be getting that a lot. And again, since we can share gear between ourselves freely, that is non-starting gear, it doesn't necessarily matter who purchases what, but we will go ahead and say Judy skips her turn, and Granny Melba will go to the peddler shop again because she wants this Rascal's Tea chest gear. It is going to give her +1 movement, and her second attack each turn is going to cost 0 mox. And with that, we'll end the shop phase with 8 gold remaining, and now let's check out our townsfolk to see how we've equipped this new gear. So with Frigid Jones, we now have Pappy's dentures equipped in the headgear slot because I think the Ruffian's going to be ending a lot more actions adjacent to her since she does like to stay in close range. We also have the stained apron, which is going to give her +1 mox. We have the wooden spoon and the jaunty jig equipped in the weapon slot, which also give her +1 mox and that 2 mox ability to swap around, and if you're both adjacent, deal more damage. And then we still have the aged eggs in our consumable slots, as well as our 2 other consumables in our backpack, and it only costs 1 mox for us to switch those in and out whenever we decide we need those heals. And Judy Marks hasn't really changed anything at all. We still have the artist cape, ankle jangler, and Gooby's shovel. Now with Granny Melba, we are kind of leaning towards that Tinkerer role. We've got the cracked glasses and the old beater, so after round 2, then we will be getting those bonuses, +2 accuracy and +2 movement, and we also have the Rascal's Tea, which means our second attack with the Spicers is going to cost us 0 mox, so even though we only have 2 mox to play around with, we'll be able to make 2 attacks just for 1 with the Rascal's Tea. And of course we have our shaky hand, so all of our terrain rolls will be at -1 for this fight. Now let's go ahead and go to the fight phase and see who our new ruffian is. And this time we have the Door Knockers, Tainted Salesfolk. Oh my goodness. Are those cubes? Word of this glorious product has spread across the Hoselands like wildfire. A miracle device that brings endless happiness and success, peddled by the enthusiastic salesmen known as the Door Knockers. Sure, no one knows how the cube works, or why the Door Knockers don't ask for payment, or why the color leaves your body the moment you touch their product. But hey, there's got to be a reason it's so popular, right? We've got the salesman patiently waiting at the town gates, so why not listen to what those charming folks have to say? So for 3 players, the Door Knockers have 5 movement, 15 health, and we start with the One of Us ambush card in play. And this is the hooligan level, so we have such a durable product. Whenever the ruffian hits a breaking point, all townsfolk gain 1 belief token. And when we take a look at the ambush card, One of Us, it says, once a townsfolk has 5+ belief tokens, they immediately receive a strange cube unique gear. While holding a cube, they are converted. Unconverted townsfolk may choose to attack converted ones. Whenever a converted townsfolk takes damage, they discard 5 belief tokens. As soon as a converted townsfolk has 4 or less belief tokens, they discard their strange cube. If all townsfolk on the board are holding strange cubes, the cubes begin to glow and burn to the touch. All townsfolk immediately take 2 damage. And now we will start with the Door Knocker's turn. Helping Hands. Those with our product gain the benefits of our collective. Don't you want these benefits? We target the closest unconverted townsfolk. So that's going to be either Judy or Frigid. And then we move the Door Knockers towards the target. If they reach the target, they offer to help the target with their menial tasks, no strings attached. The target must choose: accept the benefits, achieve up to 2 unaccomplished feats but only receive the reward for one of them, then gain 3 belief tokens, or deny the offer. No worries, friend. The benefits will be waiting. You can't help but feel you made the wrong choice. Gain 2 belief tokens. So I think I actually want to go ahead and I'm going to achieve up to 2 of these unaccomplished feats since it's right at the start. 3 versus 2 belief tokens really doesn't seem so bad one way or the other when we can discard them. And so first we have to determine who is going to be the target. So we will roll first for Judy at 6 and then Frigid at a 1. So our target is going to be Frigid. So we are going to accept the benefits and we will complete these 2 feats of metal and we'll gain the benefits of Lord of Landscape to get 2 damage from that exchange. So we will gain those 3 belief tokens with Frigid, and the door knockers will go down to 13 health. Then at the end of the action, Frigid has Pappy's dentures equipped, so they're going to take another 1 damage, going to 12 and triggering a breaking point. So now that we've hit that breaking point, all townsfolk will gain 1 belief token, so that puts Frigid at 4. And our next card is Mob Mentality. You know, most of the other townsfolk are already enjoying our product. Target the closest unconverted townsfolk, so again, we'll roll for Frigid and Judy. Move the door knockers towards the target, and the door knockers are adjacent, so we won't need to move. If they reach the target feels the salesman's judging eyes upon them. You can't be the only townsfolk without one of those silly cubes, right? And the target rolls -2 for each converted townsfolk. We don't have any, so it will just be a roll. So first we will determine the target. So for Frigid, that's a 1. And for Judy, that's a 4. So it's going to be Frigid again. And now Frigid will roll on a 5 or lower. You begin to panic. Are you falling behind with the trends? And that would be terrible. Gain 3 belief tokens. Or on a 6+, there's no way your fellow townsfolk would use such an outlandish product. You resist the door knocker's pitch. We're really hoping to get that because we are about to be converted if we take that one. And a 7. Okay, so we get to resist the pitch. And the door knockers have once again ended in action adjacent to Frigid, so they will take another damage going down to 11. For Frigid's turn, with her 5 movement, we're going to start by moving 2 to Granny Melba and spending 1 of our 4 mocks to hide inside. We will then use another 1 movement to get adjacent to the door knockers. Use 2 of our 3 remaining mocks for our jaunty jig. And remember, we can spend 2 mocks to swap positions with another townsfolk on the board. Then, if both you and that townsfolk are adjacent to the ruffian, deal 1 damage. And so, we're going to be switching with the only other townsfolk, Judy. And we are both adjacent, so that will deal 1 damage going down to 10. And with our last mocks, we will go ahead and roll with the wooden spoon. We have -1 to our accuracy, so we need a 5 or higher to hit. And a natural 1 is going to be a miss. We still have 2 move remaining, so we are going to finish off by moving 1, 2. And with that, it will go to Granny Melba. So at the start of Granny's turn, she is going to be put in a spot adjacent to Frigid. We're going to move Granny Melba back 1 space because her spicers are range 3. And so with Farsighted, we will get a +2 bonus to our accuracy for this attack, meaning we need to roll a 6 or higher because we start with a -2. That puts us at a base 0 and the spicers need 6. And a 4 will miss. We'll go ahead and make a second attack because we can use them twice per turn, and this costs us 0 mocks because of our Rascal's Tea. And okay, unfortunately 2 misses with our attacks. Then we still have 4 points of movement with Granny Melba, so we'll go ahead and move 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we get to put a counter each on Craft Glasses and Old Beater at the end of her turn. And at the start of Judy's turn, we want to start by making attack with Gooby's Shovel. So we have 2 added to our accuracy, so we need a 4 or higher to hit for 2 damage. And a 2 is going to miss. But I think we will go ahead and spend our last 2 mocks for a reroll. And there we go. 5 will hit for 2 damage, taking the door knockers down to 8. So we're going to only move Judy 1 space back next to the rickety farm to set up for a possible interaction there next turn, as well as trying to pull some aggro from Frigid. And then it is back to the door knocker's turn. The next door knocker's action is Green Sky. The salesmen hold their cubes high above their heads, making the entire landscape glow. We target all townsfolk. Move the door knockers towards the closest unconverted townsfolk, so that will be Judy. A green glow covers the entire sky. Do whatever you can to shield your eyes. All converted townsfolk on the board receive 2 belief tokens, so we at least don't have any converted yet. And then each unconverted townsfolk on the board without headgear equipped receives 2 belief tokens. So that will actually be Judy. Our only person without headgear is going to receive 2 more. That puts Frigid at 4, Judy at 3, and Granny Melba still at just 1. At the start of Frigid's turn, we are going to go ahead and consume the aged eggs to give us +3 to our next terrain roll. And we will go ahead and immediately use that on the fence here to try to break through. And a 4 will do it, with our +3 making it a 7. And so we could just hop over if we wanted. And actually, I think I will just hop over instead of breaking it. Give Granny Melba some defense here. And now, because I've consumed this round, our wooden spoon is going to deal 1 extra damage. So we are going to roll, and I need to hit a 5 or higher with that. And a 3 won't do it, but I will spend 2 mocks, leaving me with 1 to reroll. And a 7 will hit for 2 damage. That's going to take the door knockers down to 6, passing the 7 breaking point. So Frigid's turn will immediately end, and we'll see what the door knocker is going to do. And the door knockers drew Resist its glory. You mustn't give in to the cube's allure. Target the closest converted townsfolk. So if none, we discard this and play the next one. So we will discard. We don't have any converted. And now we have Find the Weakest Link. You seem down on your luck, friend. Our product is known to turn frowns upside down. Target the unconverted townsfolk with the lowest total feat points. And so that's going to be a tie between Granny and Judy, so we'll roll for that. Granny first gets a 6, and Judy gets an 8. So Granny will be the target here. We're then going to move the door knockers towards the target, and if they reach the target, trigger the after effect. So the door knockers have 5 movement, but that's not going to be enough to get to Granny. So we don't have to trigger the after effect, and it will go to Granny Melba's turn. Alright, for Granny Melba's turn, we're just going to start by moving 1 space back and facing the door knockers to try to hit them with these spicers again. And so we need to roll a 6 or higher to hit. And a 5 isn't going to do it. So we will just take that miss because we do not have enough for a reroll. We only have 2 mocks with Granny Melba, but this second attack will cost 0 because of our Rascal's Tea. And an 8 will hit for 1 damage, taking it down to 5. And Granny still has 4 movement, so she's just going to run away. And that will be the end for Granny Melba, so we get 2 more counters onto Cracked Glasses and Old Beater, meaning they will be active now the next time Granny Melba goes this turn, if it gets back around to her turn. Now, at the start of Judy's turn, thanks to my Cook Roll ability, Judy is going to gain the benefits of those aged eggs as well to get +3 on a terrain roll. So Judy will spend 1 of her 4 in order to knock at the door and try to enlist some help from this rickety farm. Now, if we roll a 5 or higher, we're going to deal 3 damage to the door knockers. And a 4. Oh, I didn't necessarily want to use my mocks for this, but I am going to spend 2 mocks, leaving us with 1, to reroll this terrain. You can do that once, the same as an attack. And an 8 will do it. So that's going to be a 3 damage attack to the door knockers, taking them down to 2 health and passing their breaking point, their final breaking point. So that's immediately going to end Judy's turn, and the door knockers are going to go. And now, since Judy's turn was last in the order, they are going to basically get 2 turns in a row here. So let's start with this breaking point card. Sudden Trance. The door knockers' smiles fade in unison. Target all townsfolk within 5 squares. So that's only going to be Frigid, thankfully. The door knockers turn their attention towards their respective cubes and begin to hum. Each target rolls -1 for each belief token they have. And so that means Frigid's going to be rolling at a -4 here. And a 5 -4 means a 1. So on a 5 or lower, that's a very catchy tune they're humming. You can't help but join in. Gain 2 belief tokens. Okay, so that's going to put Frigid up to 6 belief tokens, meaning that she is now converted. Then move the door knockers towards the farthest townsfolk. And the farthest is going to be Granny Melba, so the door knockers are headed towards her. All right, so we look at the ambush card and it says once we have 5 or more belief tokens, we're going to gain that strange cube unique gear, and we are converted. So let's grab that. So the strange cube is a special gear. You are converted. At the start of your turn, move 5 squares towards the unconverted townsfolk closest to you. If you reach that townsfolk, they take 1 damage. Then your turn immediately ends, and you can discard this at the end of the fight. But ideally, we want to knock these off so we can actually take our turns and not just try to hurt our townsfolk. And now the door knockers get to draw their regular action. Drink the punch. The door knockers whip out a bowl of bright red juice. You look thirsty, friends. The target is all unconverted townsfolk within 5 squares, so that's just going to be Granny Melba. The salesmen offer a drink to quench your thirst. Each target chooses. Drink up. Place your townsfolk adjacent to the door knockers, restore 1 HP, and gain 4 belief tokens. Well, thankfully, we haven't taken any damage, so we don't need to do that. We are going to refuse the punch. You're parched. The envy towards the juice-chugging salesman hurts your soul. Gain 2 belief tokens. Okay, so 2 for Granny Melba is just going to put her at 3, and then they will move towards the farthest townfolk, so they're going to move towards Judy. And we got lucky there. They do end their action still adjacent to Frigid. So even though she's converted, Pappy's dentures are going to reach out and hit them for 1, putting them down to their final health. However, it is now Frigid's turn. And Judy Marks is the closest unconverted, so she's going to move 3. And deal 1 damage to Judy and end her turn. So Judy goes down to 3 health. Now it is Granny Melba's turn, and we're hoping that she can get one of these Spicer throws off to defeat the door knockers. So we're going to turn Granny Melba. We're going to put Granny Melba right there, 3 spaces away, so we get our +2 to accuracy. Granny Melba is now getting the +2 accuracy from the cracked glasses, so we only need to hit a 4 or higher to defeat the door knockers. And a 4 exactly will do it. Throwing that pepper at the door knockers, we have defeated them. And now that we've defeated the door knockers, we're going to go ahead and discard our entire row of feats of metal. Just get some new ones out there for us to see. Next, we will gain our 18 coins again. And Frigid Jones was the only person that completed any feats this battle with the help of the door knockers at that. So she is going to gain the Ruffian gear. And we gained the Haywire Cube. This is a melee weapon, one-handed mace. It gives you +1 movement and +1 accuracy, and when you are knocked out, you deal 2 damage to all characters within 3 squares. Then finally, we are going to restore all of our stats. We'll rotate the buy-in beaten order, so now Granny Melba is first, then Judy, then Frigid. And before we go to the next town phase, we'll end the video here, and I will see you all for part 2. This has been Solo Party. My name is Kane. I'll see you all next time.